Hey guys, here we are, the Quiggin Out MMA Podcast. We're gonna make this look a little bit cooler, put some things on here, make it look fancy. Look at that. See, I'm just going ahead of myself here for episode 60. And I've got the one, the only, the brand new Invicta Fighting Championships Atomweight champion, Jillian DeCoursey. How you doing? I forgot the Lionheart. Now I feel bad.
Oh, that's all. It's all good. I mean, there's like 50,000 nicknames going around depending on the day sometimes. So, I'm doing pretty good. Thanks for having me on.
Absolutely. And I have to ask right off the bat, besides, the fact that everybody's been asking how you feel, how'd you get them to call you Jilly Bean? Jilly Bean?
Uh,
Because that was so weird when I saw it.
so at my one of my main gyms, Long Island MMA, like all my coaches there, everyone there calls me Jilly Bean. Like they don't use my name at all. Even like in the corner, my like coach was talking to me and he's like, Jilly Bean, you gotta do this. So I had told them because usually it's like a coach from one of my other gyms that like corners me for most of my fights. So I was always telling them like for like years, I'm like, well, if you guys want to corner me, then I'll get announced as Jilly Bean. Um, so 2 fights ago, I one of my coaches there was cornering me, so I just told them when we were going over like the broadcast stuff, and I was like, all right, so we're gonna change Jillian to Jilly Bean, and they were like, really, are you serious? Like this is what you want? And then even the announcer, like before he announces it, both fights, he came over to me and he's like, so we're doing this Jilly Bean thing, and I'm like, yeah, we're doing it.
And it was fantastic because it was like the double nickname. And then it was like, so many fighters. You had two fighters that week with the nickname. All we needed was Anthony Smith to complete the
Yep.
the trifecta there. So just talk about how you're feeling. We're 2 weeks to the day of you winning
Yeah.
that belt. Like, how are you
Yeah, we are.
feeling?
Wow, it's wild.
Yeah.
I mean, at the same time, it feels like it just happened, and it feels like eternity ago at the same time. It's so weird. It's still like still taking a little bit to like sink in. It's definitely like different. Like I said, I went back to the gym like Friday, and it was just it's bizarre, right? Like you walk in and everybody's like, "Ah, my God!" Yeah, I haven't started like hard training or anything yet, so it'll be interesting when I spar. Because after my last fight, when I got the knockout, sparring with people was definitely different. Like people like were literally trying to murder me, and I'm like, this is not cool. I'm still the same
Whoa.
person. I don't want to play this. So to be like, I've rolled in jujitsu, and everybody's like, oh, I want a shot at the champ, and I'm like, guys, like I just want to chill. I just want to chill right now.
And it had to be such an adrenaline high there too. But I feel like, it's not the same, but it's like getting, going from white belt to blue belt. Everyone's like, all right, we're gonna roll now, and you're gonna
Yep.
see how I've been going easy on you.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely a little bit of like that vibe. But then like when I rolled on Friday, like I was just tapping people. I was like upping. I was like, all right, you know what? Now I'm not gonna play nice. I'm gonna tap you like 50 times.
Oh my god. And that's what's even better about it is that like, the atom weights, they generally don't talk about, you look at the fights, they're usually high paced, there's usually a lot of movement. You're not seeing the finishes as much. And they were literally saying that, not during, your title fight, but the one before that,
Right.
literally saying that, and you just starched her. And I remember watching it going, I'm like, she killed her. she,
Whoops.
she got back up. But what has
I
it
mean, it
been the
took a long
thing?
it took a long time.
It really did.
Like when I watched the like the actual fight of it, because the clip you don't see it, I'm like, man, that was a long time. Like I'm running around, climbing cages, doing all these shenanigans, and I'm like, oh man, like that was definitely a long time.
And you think about it, that was only 5 months ago. And
Yeah,
what you've done in these 5 months with those two wins have really like cemented you, in the not only in the organization, the division. I saw you made the pound for pound top 10 list. Like, what was that like to see your name on that list and go, holy crap? Like,
yeah. I mean, I feel like that's like the craziest part, like seeing my name like on pound for pound lists, right? Like top 10. Seeing my name like top of the atom weight, like on the world rankings, like number one. I'm like, oh man, this is wild stuff. This is like really super cool.
And it really has to be because, you look through, the fights going up to your last two, you had the one finish, most of the fights being decisions.
Hmm.
And then it seemed like something this year, I think having that year off, something changed you. So what was that change that really sparked this? Like, I'm going to go out there and show them something they've never seen before.
I think the biggest change I could say, like my last two fights, was like my mindset going in. Like I wasn't actually focusing on like winning fights. It was just focusing on right. Not expecting that one, right?
That's a first on the show. That is a first on the show.
But instead, like just focusing on like performing my best and like, like knowing like, hey, wait, if I went in there and I like did the best I could, I can walk out like satisfied no matter what the result was. And I think that was like the biggest change because then I was going and relaxed, right? And then being relaxed, like everything is just falling into place. And like I am performing at my best and not only winning, I'm like finishing fights.
Yeah, and I mean you're finishing pretty emphatically. Like obviously the knockout and then getting the submission. I mean the control time you had, you didn't give her an inch.
Right.
And I don't think she thought you were going to tap her. I really don't. I think she,
Oh, no, absolutely not. I think she thought she was gonna survive. It was like, "All right, like, maybe I'll lose a round, but, like, whatever, no big deal."
and you felt that in that moment too. Like I got you. Like I got this.
I felt that as soon as, she, like, ran in for the clinch, um, because I knew, like, that was, like, out of, like, her element, so
Mhm.
I was like, "Okay, this isn't, like, a normal behavior for you," and just the way it happened, I was like, "You didn't like when I hit you with that right hand."
Well, and I think again, your punching power being showcased just 5 months ago, not like a
Right,
couple years ago. It's not like when you talk about these people so recently, like you said, even in sparring, people are
right,
like trying to kill you, and you're like, whoa, whoa, whoa. It was a great punch, but please
right.
don't.
Like, I don't wanna play that game.
I think it's amazing that you can identify that, and the mindset you carry in there obviously comes from, I would say, your educational background too. And we were talking a little bit about that before. So, you know, everybody asks you about being the licensed mental health counselor. Everybody does. But when you Google your name right now,
Oh, yeah, that doesn't come up.
dethrones the queen, beats the queen, like new title holder, and it was so crazy to see that because I've seen you be, putting in the work. You're so active on Twitter, and I really feel like fans get to know you. Um, so talk about the mindset that you're able to, you're able to do something most people can't. Like you said, I'm gonna go in there and do my best.
Right,
99% of the time they want to go in there, they want to win and get, go out, not get hurt, and fight again.
right.
You were and for you to say, "I wasn't trying to go out there and win, I was just doing my best." Well, your best was winning. So talk about that mindset and how you get to that point.
Yep, so I think definitely like doing what I do for work, having like my master's in psychology definitely helps because it gives me the background. But also like I worked with like a mindset coach for this camp, which really like helped really put those practices into play because we could tell ourselves certain things, but sometimes we need like someone else to just help guide us with it. So I think that like helps a big portion of it, and just being able to, like I said, really buy into like I'm okay with like if I do my best. And I think for me too, because fighting isn't something for me that pays my bills, so I can go in with that, right?
Mhm.
Because it's not that, oh man, I'm not gonna be able to pay my rent because I didn't win this fight. And I think that's like one of my biggest attributes, that strengths for winning because I don't have that added pressure.
Yeah, and so many times, we talk about it. I know you've talked about it in other interviews, and people say you started a little bit late. And I think for women's MMA, I don't think that's right at all. And you even said it like
Right,
10 years ago, you're not fighting on a big stage, not like
right.
this.
Mm-mm.
It took until 2013 to get Ronda and Liz Carmouche fighting for the first time
Right.
in the UFC at
Mm.
UFC 157. And I'm only going to bring that up because Liz was my last guest. So two
Oh,
back-to-back
nice.
champions. It's never happened on the show. Two back-to-back female champions who have been, who are not 20 years old, not
Right,
22 years old.
right.
And I think we're definitely seeing a change where training has gotten smarter. And I think my favorite part of what you just said was bringing in a mindset coach, because you know all these things, you know how
Right,
to overcome them, but in your mind you're going, well, no, I've got this, well, I need somebody else to tell me.
right.
So is it hard to like push aside your own like knowledge in that sense to accept everything they're saying, or is it kind of easier to say, well, I know why he's saying this or they're saying this, and going that way?
For me, it's easier, right? But I think that's individualized. I mean, I'm somebody that like if I'm going to like bring someone onto my team, whether it's a coach, whether it's for training, whether it's for mindset stuff, whether it's for nutrition, if I'm bringing them on, I'm going to listen to them, right? I'm going to trust what they're telling me. If I'm not right, I'm not going to buy into we're trying to what they're trying to guide me on. Then what's the point of bringing them on?
Mhm.
Um, so for me, having like the background was able to like open me up to being receptive and like kind of being able to grasp the concepts easier because I know all the things. I just can't use it. Sometimes it's hard to apply it to yourself.
Understandable. So what does a mindset coach do for you specifically as a fighter? Like, I don't want to give away your secrets. I don't want everybody to but like, what
um,
does it really do?
so for me, it was like really like a big portions of it, like what to focus on, right? Through camp, what to focus on leading up to the fight, and the, you know, like what things are important, right? Like, and then going through your insecurities, like things that you're worried about, and how to try and combat those, and focus on things that are actually going to help you.
That's amazing. And it seems like that should be a staple in MMA. Like,
Right,
absolutely. And you touched on it earlier, this doesn't pay your bills. This isn't
right,
what you're relying on to pay your bills. I'm sure it's a nice addition,
right.
but it's
Yeah,
not,
absolutely.
if you go to your website, I love you've got a pricing, like a pricer that's like 0 to 250. We don't know. Click the
Yep,
button, you find out.
find out.
And I love that. So really, how do you balance the day to day? How are you balancing running your own practice,
hmm
having your own set of clients? Like, how do you balance that with training, with fighting, and how do you show up to a session with a black eye and have to explain that?
Well, I am definitely like I feel like I'm lucky in that regard because since I work for myself, I have complete control over my schedule, right? Um, I mean, I wear like 50,000 hats in one day, right? Like, okay, I have to wear like, running a business hat, then I have to wear the therapist hat, then I have to be the biller hat. Oh, now I got to be the fighter hat. So it's like I kind of just, I've always been good at multitasking. Ever since I was a kid, I would play like four sports in like one season and be in school. So like I've always been kind of like all over the place. Like we'd be like my mom would be running me from like a basketball game, like changing in the car to get to like a soccer game, and so it's always like kind of all over the place. So I think like it's just been the way my life always has been. So like now, kind of doing 50 things in one day is just normal. During fight camp, it does definitely gets like times where I'm like, "Oh my god, like this is rough." But I've been doing it for so long. I have a pretty good system in place. Like I usually like wake up, see some clients, run to the gym, train for a couple hours, run home, see some clients, run back to the gym for a couple hours. Depending on what time I'm done at night, I might see somebody late at night or something,
Mhm.
and kind of just repeat that day after day.
Just going through those motions,
Yeah.
literally. And
Um,
that's incredible. Like, there really is. I don't know a lot of people who could balance that much and still function. A lot of people that don't have a job that's, I would say, is emotionally or mentally exhausting as yours can
right.
be. Um, I we talked about this before. I got my bachelor's degree in psychology and I was going to change the world. I was going to do so much with it. And I ended up getting into social work and realizing, I did that for 2 years and I realized like it takes a special kind of person to handle that.
Right.
To handle people's problems and, hearing the I can'ts and, oh, I can't, I'm not going to do this. Nobody will listen to me. And having to overcome those, it has to be like a secret weapon for you when it comes to fighting, because in the back of your mind, you're just like, I feel like there's just two, instead of the angel and the devil, you just have like two people in lab coats, like, hey, you got this. Like, and this is why. And they explain everything. So do you
Right.
feel that gives you an advantage that you're able to deal with all the emotional stuff on one side, and like the fighting really seems like it'll be an outlet to kind of
Um,
release?
yeah, absolutely it is. And I get asked like all the time, like because big thing like when you're especially when you're grad school and stuff, they're like, if you're a therapist, you should be like in therapy, right? To deal with your
Yeah.
stuff. So I get asked that all the time. For me, training is like my therapy, is my outlet, is where like everything gets like just poof, and then I'm like, oh, okay, I'm good now.
It's how I feel anytime I do jujitsu. I'm just like, I had a really bad day. Go train, get beat up a bunch,
Yep. Yeah,
tap
I'm
out
good
one
now.
person, and you're like, I'm the best person in the world, and you leave. You don't remember why you were upset before.
100%.
So we talked about it being 2 weeks since you won the title. You said everybody's coming after you. Everybody's trying to, take your head up. Does it feel real? Like, does it really feel like, other than if anybody's seen your post, and if you haven't, go look at them right now. We'll wait. Um, Literally, you taking that title everywhere. Like, has it just been a surreal experience for you holding that belt?
100%. It's like it still doesn't feel like very real. It's like, yeah, like we're having fun with it. We're taking the belt around, taking pictures, doing all this like goofy stuff. But it's still like, wait, like I like this is mine. Like I am the champ. Like what?
Well, and it has to be that way. Like, there's some things people are never gonna understand like that. Like winning that belt in that moment, like you froze for a second after she tapped. It was just like, it felt like all those emotions in that moment. You were like, oh my God. And I feel like there was just like, it was like an out of body experience where you're watching it going, come on, come on.
Like,
Okay, there's 10 seconds. Oh, 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 she tapped. Get back in. Get back in.
yeah, well, before she tapped, I was like yelling at my corner in my head, because they were counting down the time, and I'm like, all right. So in my head, I'm like, you guys need to shut up. She can hear you. Why do you keep saying the time? Stop it.
I've always thought about coaches just yelling out the wrong time. You got 30 seconds.
Right. And then afterwards, when I actually watched like the fight and how tight that choke was, I was like, oh, there was no way she was hearing anything because I was so tight.
Mhm.
But it like in my head, I'm like literally, I'm like, I was getting pissed at them. I'm like, could you stop yelling out this time?
Like that in that moment, you're seconds away from winning a title, and you're like, shut up.
Like, I'm like, what are you doing?
It just reminds me of that video online where it's like when coach is telling you to get up during a fight. Come on, get up. And I learned that firsthand when I would watch fights, and I'm like, I don't understand why they don't get up. Like, just
Right.
go to this side. Like, and then I started training, and I went, oh, because you can't
That's
move.
why.
I'm not a smaller guy, and for people to move me, I'm still like, okay, hold on a second. Like, I don't like that very much.
Right.
So you talk about being able to hear them. I've talked to fighters, and they said they don't hear anything when they're in the cage unless it's their corner. And they said if your corner yells at you during a fight, they need to yell at you in training, and vice versa. Like if they
Right.
talk soft, otherwise you won't hear it. And I could see the the psychologist in you just going, uh-huh, uh-huh.
Like, yeah, I mean, for me, I like actually apparently was having a conversation with my corner when we were like against the cage, clinched. I don't remember that. But apparently I was telling he didn't want me to go. I was going for something he wanted me to go for because he knew I was gonna like sit and like look for this sweet. But I was like sit there, I'm like, no, no, don't worry, we're good. I got this.
It's gotta be demoralizing for your opponent to be like, no, no, no. If she tries this, I got it. Like, go ahead, try it, try it. Like,
I
no,
mean,
no,
but
no.
thankfully I did get the reversal because it was literally what
Yeah,
I just
that's
I
what
just modified what he didn't want me to do and
Well, and for it to be your first submission win, you know, on that stage, like it just had to feel so good. And we're gonna keep talking about it because it's your first title. You know, you were an atomweight, you went to strawweight, and you were like, "Let me try this." No, I don't like this. I'm going back
Yeah,
down to
no,
atomweight,
not for me. I don't have the frame for it.
which is strange to say because not a lot of people have a frame for atomweight. At
Right,
least they didn't 5 years ago. And Invicta has really just done a good job of finding
right,
all these people. And it's not just, oh, you're just fighting some girl we fought, we found because she's 105 pounds. Like these
right.
are
Like
world class
legit.
fighters.
Yep.
Yeah. How exciting is it to fight in this time versus like we talked about 10 years ago where this didn't exist? These weight classes were at local shows,
Right.
you never found this stuff. What's it like to be, where you are now and how exciting is that for you?
I mean, I'm glad I started later on because if I didn't, there's a good chance I would have been like burnt out by this point or just, beat up, whatever the case might have been. But because I started later, I'm able to, continue to fight and be at my peak at a time where the sport is blowing up for females.
Absolutely. And I mean, you've spent most of your career in Invicta. I know you had a few Cage Fury, and
Hmm.
sometimes you do the commentary or at least the play by play. So
Yes.
tell me how you got into that. You usually don't see that as quickly as you did, but the way you break down things, the way you talk about things, I think they really saw you had a knack for bringing something different to the table, especially being next to someone like CM Punk. So
I've never actually done the commentary on for Cage Fury. We just go back and forth on Twitter all the time.
that's what I'm talking
So
about.
it's like,
That's the
yeah,
real commentary. We don't
okay, gotcha.
I mute the TV half the time when we watch it because you'll see a different fight
Yeah,
if you
yeah.
watch it without the
Oh,
voices,
yeah,
so
absolutely. When I first watch my fights, I don't watch it with commentary, and then I watch it later on with it. But no, that just kind of happened. It was like a way. I was always watching fights, so it was a way, just to kind of up my social media presence, get a little bit more active. And it just kind of blew up, and like now, this is where we're at with it.
and you've really blown up on the social media presence. We've seen a lot more, and that usually happens when you get the title, but it was starting before.
Right.
And I wanted to bring that up because I mentioned it before. There was somebody just the other day, you were like, "If I get to this many followers, I'm gonna go ahead and do this autographed
Yep.
T-shirt." And he went, "Maybe if you win some fights." And I just stared at it and I'm like, "She won a title a week ago."
Right. Like, yeah, those people you just gotta write them off because there's so many dummies out there.
And unfortunately, the MMA universe, I'm not saying bad things about everybody, but there are some weird ones.
Oh, absolutely. And I mean, it's great because at this point, most of the time, I don't even need to say anything because 50 other people go and just, and I'm like, I get to sit back and watch this.
I saw that last time, and it was like people were like, "Here's a link to her fight. Here's a link to her last fight. Here's this.
Yeah,
Here's
I'm
this.
like,
Here's the
I
record."
didn't have to do anything.
And I think that speaks to your character too, because you could easily lash out and be like, "Really, this
Right,
is what's going on." And it just seems like you're so laid back, and obviously the job helps you be laid back, but the person you are helps you be laid back in the job.
right, 100%. And I'm like, try to be myself no matter what hat I have on at any moment, whether it's, I'm fighting, whether I'm hanging out with my friends, whether I'm hanging out with my family, whether I'm, in therapist mode. I'm like myself in each space and it's like the same.
Yeah. It's just like it's literally like you just put on a different hat.
Yeah, no, 100%.
You're
Sometimes
like, "Hold on.
I'll change like my top, look more, a little bit more professional. Sometimes not. Sometimes it's what you're getting.
Have you ever had to do a therapy session with a black eye and had to
Oh,
explain it?"
Oh, 1000%. I mean, now I do a lot of virtual. I don't do as much in person, so it's a lot easier.
Mhm.
But when I used to do a lot of in person, especially when I first started like training and fighting, I always had black eyes. I always had I was always bruised up. And at the beginning, like it was like a little bit more awkward. Now, all my clients have a lot of them I had for years at this point.
Mhm.
pretty much all of them know that I fight and I train. Most of them watch them. It's just become like where it's like, hey, yeah, I don't need to hide who I am. Like, if you're not okay with that, then I'm not the therapist for you. But I haven't had anyone that has not been okay with it. Most people are like, wow, that's like really awesome. Like, and then they watch my fights and they see all my stuff, and it just brings it all together because it's like I'm a real person, and it's not like I'm a huge asshole in the fight world. And then, I'm talking to you this way. I'm the same person. So it's okay for it to be all mixed.
Even when you said asshole, you sounded nice. I was like, even then, I was like, if you just walked by and said that to me, I'd be like, that's a nice lady. Like,
That's amazing.
well, I think it brings a new element to the I would say doctor-patient confidentiality, but at the same time, like, I feel like just like I would use my last name when I worked in
Hmm.
retail, instead of using Matt, I would use Quiggins
Right.
because I learned very quickly. You walk up to somebody, say, "Hey, this is Matt." And they're like, "Yeah, whatever, bye."
Right.
And I'd walk up to people and I go, "Hey, is there something?" And I'm just looking. And I go, "Well, my name's Quiggins. If you need anything," and you'd see him go, "What?"
Right.
And
Right.
that wall came down.
Yeah.
Like, and I feel like you're using that to your advantage, which most people I don't think would do it or have that mindset, that way of thinking, that you're really using it to connect with them and get them to open up. Like, when was the first time you realized that was a connection, like something that you could use?
I mean, I work a lot with teens, so it was like it would like come up sometimes, right? Because like they're always googling and stuff like that. So it really just started to come up by like my clients like googling me and then coming in and being like, so, and I'm like, you googled me, didn't you? So it's like it's something that I never bring up, but usually very quickly, like it comes up in that way, and like um that's usually what they'll be like. They're like, so I kind of gotta ask you about something, and I'm like, I know what it is.
You're like, yes, I won.
Yeah.
Let's talk about you, but I want to talk about those other 2 minutes. No, no, no.
Well, even I was like right after the fight, I was actually in my office seeing some clients, and they were like, I was doing my appointment manager, like, can you please bring the belt with you? I'm like, yes, I will bring it.
Has anyone else got to hold the belt?
Yeah, I let people touch it.
Okay. Listen, some people are weird about that. I just wanted
Yeah, no, I let people touch it.
I
My
really
mom
think
was carrying it around the other day, and we were going to see family, and she's like, "I'm gonna walk this out to the car." And I was like trying to tell her to hold it. She's like, "No, no, I've watched you. I know how to do this."
oh, well, obviously you don't just hold on to that willy-nilly like
Yep,
that.
no, she was holding it official too. Had it over the shoulder.
That's
It was
fantastic.
great.
Has anyone dropped it?
No, no,
If it
yeah,
hasn't happened after 2 weeks, it's not happening. You know that,
yeah.
right? Like,
I
that's
think, yeah,
the
I think we're,
unofficial rule.
yeah. Then I might have to double leg them if they do.
I would watch that. Invicta 49 and a half.
Okay. Whoopsie.
I'm sure that would go over well. Being 2 weeks, I guarantee everyone said, "Who do you wanna fight next? What do you wanna do?" I feel like the first answer anybody should give is be like, "Let me breathe." Like, I'm
Right.
still in there. But is there a name, like, that's there, or you're just like, "Just put whoever in front of me. I'm the champ now." Like, that's how it works.
Yeah, I mean, there's no one in particular that I'm like, oh, I think I think like this is gonna be the person. I mean, after I think like after my last fight with Lindsay, like I think Jessica knew like pretty much like whoever won that fight, and then I think she could tell like all right, it's most likely gonna be Jillian. But like for right now, I'm like there's no one that I'm like 100%. I'm like yeah, they're probably gonna give it to this person. For me, as long as it's someone that like is like deserving, I'm like yeah, sure. They pull like some jokester out of a hat, I'm gonna be like make them earn
Mm,
it. But that doesn't typically happen. So it's kind of just wait and see. Like I'm definitely kind of like just chilling, relaxing. I had two hard camps back to back. So it's like, all right, yeah, like I need, a little bit of like breathe time, kind of build myself back up, and then, get back in there.
And that was the answer I expected you to say. Like, I'm 100%.
Again.
Because there's this weird like undertone there where there's people who say the champion should be able to get to pick the fights, or the champion should just fight whoever is put in front of them. But I get it. The UFC has over the years just terribly just thrown people in and been like, yeah, you're gonna fight for a title now.
Right.
You haven't fought anybody in the top 15. Yes, I know I haven't fought anybody in the
Right.
top 15 because somebody's gonna call me out on that. I already know. That's what the internet does. But you see these people and they're trying to make money off of them. They're trying to do this, and we understand it's a business, but you have to understand that, like, you see what PFL is doing. The UFC cuts Aspen Ladd for missed weight cuts,
Right.
and they pick her up like 2 weeks
Yeah.
later.
Yeah,
Not
that's
even.
that. I mean, that's like, like I roll.
Yeah. But it was, you see these companies and you see PFL, you see all these people going, I make way more money. I've talked to fighters who were like, I had 8 fights in the UFC and I made more in 4 fights with PFL in 4 months.
Right.
You're seeing people go into bare knuckle and saying they're making more money. So do you feel like a lot of the sport is going for who's going to pay at this point? Or is it really, have people kind of lost sight of being the best in the world? Of course, I'm using the CM Punk thing because it came up earlier, but really, like, do you think people have kind of lost sight of that? And they're just kind of taking the money, rightfully so, though.
I think it depends on the fighter, right? Like some people are like, I don't care what, I don't care if I have a title. I don't care what I'm ranked. I don't care about that. As long as I'm getting good paydays, like who cares, right?
Mhm.
Then there's other people that are in it because they're like, yeah, well, I need this money and I need, to fund this and do this. But, I want to be the best. So I think it just depends on what's like, it's two sides of the spectrum. And, some people fall over here. It's just about money. Like, I don't care. I don't really enjoy this. I don't really like it. I'm just doing it for the paycheck. And then the other people where it's like, yeah, the paycheck is, I need the paycheck,
Mhm.
but yeah, I'm doing this because like, this is my passion. I love this. I just love to fight. And I want to be the best I can be.
Yeah, and I feel like that's how it should be, but we went through so many years of fighter pay being
Mhm.
not where it should be, and I think that fighter pay is gonna be something we complain about in 20 years still. Like, it's
Mhm.
never going to change because that's just how the landscape is, and I feel like you kinda know that when you get into it.
Right.
Shifting gears completely, being a guest writer, on Combat Press with me, which was super cool. Like, when you joined, I was really excited about that. I haven't written anything in a while because I had a weird writer's block in
But
like November of 2019, where I went from being able to write something, I'd black out. And when I'd come to, it was there. I was so into it.
that's
And I,
awesome.
and I was like, this is the coolest thing ever. And then I tried to write something and it took me like 3 hours to write a paragraph. And I went, all right, you know what I'll do? I'll go do a podcast. And,
Right.
here we are 60 episodes later. So talk about how you got brought onto the team and what it was like to, you're seeing a lot more fighters start to write a little bit
Mhm.
because you're bringing a different perspective. So talk about what it's like to being able to present that and have a platform to do it on.
I mean, it just for me, it like it was one of those things again. Like, I mean, like most things in my life, I think it just kind of happens. Um, and it was something that like it was like super cool. I did it for like a good amount of time. And it was just kind of like writing about the fights and like just kind of my own predictions and being able to put it out there and get feedback from people. And it was like I think it helped me as a fighter too, because like, when you're writing about it, you have to look at it from like a different perspective. You really have to like break it down. And it was just like, I mean, it was a cool thing to do for a while. Like everybody was reading my articles and I'm like, oh, really? You read my article? I'm gonna go to the gym and be like, oh yeah, like that was really cool what you said in that article. And I'm like, you I write? Like you read it? They're like, yeah.
That is a weird feeling when somebody's like, hey, I watched your show, or hey, I wrote
Yeah.
that, I read what you said and I don't agree with you. And I'm like, you took the time to read it so
Right.
you could disagree with me. That's flattering. No, please. Thank you. Well, listen, you're still listed as a guest writer on the site, so if you want to do anything,
Right.
you've got that open door.
Yeah, I mean, at some point, probably get back into it. Right now, just like trying to manage like the my Twitter stuff. Being the champ. It's kind of
The what? You're the
being the
what now?
being the champ.
I love the jovialness. Like, to be completely like, it's just so refreshing because everybody that gets on the show, like, I try to bring people with the different personalities, and I've been spending 10 years trying to break that moniker that fighters are dumb, fighters don't have an
Right.
education, and you're literally checking all the boxes the opposite way. Like, having the career outside of fighting, like, if fighting ended tomorrow, like, you still have, you know, a job, a life, a career
Right.
there.
Absolutely. And I had said before, I think that that's one of my biggest strengths sometimes coming into fights is that I know no matter what happens in the fight, like I have something so strong to come back to, and I'm gonna be okay.
Yeah, absolutely. And you kind of have to be that way. And I feel like if more fighters really thought about a contingency plan, and I've brought that up numerous times, countless times, I'm going to use every, verb I can in this point. Somebody's going to say it's an adjective, but it's okay. Um, you have to have a backup plan. The NFL, you have a career, you're a broadcaster.
Right.
You're making a lot of money being a broadcaster, and you're usually pissing people off, and you're still making a lot of money.
Right.
As a fighter, you might go to commentary. You might be like Daniel Cormier and show up in WWE this past weekend, which was weird. Um, I have a love-hate relationship with DC. I've had a problem since he ragdolled Dan Henderson, and I've never gotten over it.
Little bit.
Like,
Oh, you got a personal gripe there.
it's personal just because I was like, you never should have been fighting a 185er, like,
Right.
ever in your life. And it's weird because with the commentary team, like you said, you watch your fights, you watch it with no commentary.
Right.
You're just watching the movements, you're watching what's going on, and you're analyzing it that way. You can't do that when you're listening to the commentary because I've been watching so many fights lately and they're like, "Oh, he's hurt." And I went, "He didn't even hit him."
Right.
Like, I'm not sure what you're talking about, but you start to see that. So I really love that you take that approach to that. So
Well, on a note like that, in my fight, and they've said this has come up like pretty much almost every one of my fights, right? Though, like for this past one, they were like, "Oh, Del Bone's really like redding up the inside leg of DeCoursey," and I'm like, "Yeah, like you breathe on me and I'm bright red. Like, what does that mean? Like, come on." And like every fight, they talk about like, oh, like the damage is there because I'm red, and it's like, no, look at my complexion.
I am right there with you. Right.
Like,
That's not the light. That is my,
like,
yeah. I'm red now, and I haven't even
right.
like,
I'm red from laughing.
I'm not. It's so funny because we could talk about all the things that are wrong with the sport, but there are so many things that have gone right. And there's Shannon Knapp. I will never stop praising her for what she's done with Invicta because I know that 5 events in, people were like, I don't think this is gonna make it. They really weren't seeing
Right.
it. And you look at all those women who went to the UFC, became
Yeah.
champions, Liz Carmouche, Carla Esparza, Rose Namajunas. I'll never forget watching Rose's first fight and being like, oh my God, what was that? And seeing that progression and how they kind of paved the way that wasn't Ronda. Because I
Right.
feel like she did something and was like, no, I want fighters. I want,
Right.
not saying Ronda's not a fighter, but
Right. Right. But like she wanted just people that just loved it and wanted to be there.
yeah. And here we are, we just finished event 49 as far as the numbers go. And it's just been amazing to watch the progression and to see you walk out of there with with the belt, the championship belt, because you're what was the word you used? The champ.
I'm the champ.
The dance that comes with it is probably my favorite part. If I could just make that a GIF and just play that over and over, like we don't need the rest of the podcast, just
Just that.
just that. But again,
I'm gonna have to make one now.
Hey, trademark.
Yeah, there we go.
So you keep singing I'm the champ. So I'm going to switch gears again and talk about what are your interests outside of work, outside of fighting, outside of writing. So let's start with music. What's your favorite kind of music?
I don't honestly have like a favorite kind of music. My boyfriend is super into like EDM.
Oh,
So we've been we've been going to lots of music festivals. And that's been kind of like a one of our kind of like hobbies, I guess.
hmm.
I like to travel a lot. Anytime like in between fights, I try and travel, go different places, whether it's like, within the US or like abroad. Hang out with my dogs. Um, yeah, I mean, I do a lot of stuff. I snowboard, like go hiking all the time, hang out with my family, go to amusement parks, go out to eat.
All right, roller coasters. Good or no?
I'm good with roller coasters, yes.
Okay. There's some people who aren't. I wasn't when I was a kid, and I got paid a quarter to ride one at Busch Gardens in Florida, and I was like, okay, I'll ride it.
But
And I rode it 4 times in a row, and they were like, "You need to get off now."
that way, you're like, when I like this.
Where is your favorite place to have traveled, and where is somewhere you'd want to travel that you haven't gotten to yet?
Yep. So my favorite place I would say would have been my when I went to Ireland.
Mm.
Um, I think that would that I think that trip was just like one of my favorites, just because like we got to see pretty much most of the country, and we kind of like road tripped it around. It was super super cool to be able to like just kind of hop in a car and like foreign land and just drive around. On some place that's on my bucket list. I want to do one of those like safaris like in Africa where you like go and you like sleep in the trees and stuff.
Oh, like, you don't just wanna go in the Jeep. You're like, "I wanna sleep
No,
in the
I like
tree."
I want to do it all out if I'm going to do it.
Invicta Safari.
Okay.
Chili Bean fights a bear.
I don't even think they have. Do they have bears there?
I don't know why bear
A
came up
cheetah?
first. Like, of all the
Cheetah
animals,
maybe?
I don't know, a cheetah, that's not a fair fight.
No, I'm gonna get mauled.
I mean, you're Lionheart, you've gotta have some special power.
Yeah, hide in the trees.
Yeah. I mean, that sounds super cool too because there's so many things I wanna do, like, I love traveling and, finding new food. I think new food is probably one of the coolest things because once you open your palate, like, the list of things I don't eat is probably, like, this big now
Oh,
versus,
man.
like, 10 years ago where I was like, "Yeah, I'm not eating any of that." So
Yeah, I'm you 10 years ago, like, I'm like, "Nah, nah, nah, won't do it."
no?
No, I'm a punk.
What's the weirdest thing you've had to eat? Or what was the one thing you ate that said, "No, I'm done. No, that was it."
I don't think there was one thing that put it. I mean, like, I got when I was in, like, junior high, I was on, like, a school camping trip, and, like, my science teacher, like, was like, "Pay you $5 to eat this lightning bug." So I ate the lightning bug.
I can honestly say in my entire life, I've never had anybody admit that to me. So that is
You're welcome. Give you lots of firsts today.
that's what I want. Like this, I wanted this to be fun. I want people to get to know you not only as the champ, because that's what a lot of people see. They see the champion, the fighter. And again, I feel like as part of your background, we need to get you some hats. And one hat just needs to say filler, therapist, fighter,
Yes.
jujitsu, girlfriend, dog mom, traveler.
And just kinda just keep I should just do, like, a video, just switch them throughout the day of, like, how many I have to wear.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that sounds like something for TikTok, which I still won't do. I won't do it.
Yeah, I don't do TikTok. Oh my god, my mom and my stepdad, like, just send TikTok, like, all day sometimes, and I'm like, "Wait, aren't you guys at work? Why are you on TikTok?"
Don't you have something to do?
Yeah.
I had it for like a week. And I would watch one video that somebody would send me, and it wouldn't pull up the video they sent me. It would pull up like a recommended video.
Right.
And then I'd have to like exit out and go back, and then it would pull up another, and I'm like, okay, so we're here an hour later, and I still haven't seen what somebody
Right.
said.
Right, but you saw like 50 other things that you were not interested in.
No, not at all. It's like when YouTube goes down that rabbit hole, but
Yeah.
I mean, I like it when Spotify does that. I found some really cool music that I never would have found.
Right.
But not when it does it that way. I don't need to do that. But everybody's saying, "Oh, that's what you got to do now. You have to have that." And
Yeah, but
Twitter's kind of
it
become
sucks
like
you in.
yeah, Twitter's kind of become like the oddball out sometimes, where
Yeah, 'cause
people
it's more just text based
yeah,
for the most part. You know, once in a while it's pictures, but it's like the point is text.
yeah. Going on that social media kick, if you look at some of the videos of your last fight, you're looking at like 60,000, 70,000 views. And I just remember like I probably watched the submission probably like 50 times. I'm not even gonna lie. Not only because it was on your social media everywhere, but just
Yes.
rewatching it over and over. And we were doing something else, and I was like hiding in the corner, like I'm not
I'm not watching it.
like I just need to see if she wins. Like this is the only fight I care about, like this one. Not to say anything bad about the other ones, but I was doing something at the time, but I was like, I'm gonna take a break and watch this. Jill won. Go back to what we were
What you're
doing.
doing.
But it has been an exciting road, and it's been fun to watch you these years because I've basically been watching your whole career, whether I knew I was or not.
Right.
Going back all the way to Invicta 25,
Yeah.
when you started, the pro part of your career. Amateur, it's a little bit harder to follow. We all know, like, not everybody
Right.
can do that. But you look at, I think it was, I want to say it was, now I can't remember which card it was. Now I'm looking and I'm like, which one? So one of the fighters that I had watched as an amateur in Tampa fought on one of the same cards, and I can't remember which one it was.
Do you remember which fighter?
Sarah Kleshka.
Oh, she fought I think we fought on did we fought on 25 together.
I was gonna say I thought it was on
And
25.
we fought on 25 together.
Yes. So I watched her as an amateur, and then I saw her go to Invicta, and it was funny because I watched that card because of her, and I watched out. The Invicta cards. I watch them all. I don't just watch like this fight and this fight. The
Right.
last one I just admitted I only watched the last one. Sorry, everybody.
Like,
But you never know what you're gonna see. And
right.
again, when you fought Van Zant, oh my God. Listening to I watched it again, watch it over and over, and you're listening to the commentary, and they're like, well, you don't normally see she's
Yeah, they were I think it was Megan was literally talking about like how impressive like Lindsay's striking was, and she was like mid-sentence. It was like, oh.
yeah. Yeah. That's gotta feel good. Like, it doesn't feel good to put somebody down. Like you said, she was down for a while. You were able to
Yeah.
run around, climb up there and be like, "Yeah," and then you look back and you're like, "Uh, like, that's not good." And I was really, besides the Katie Perez fight, like, that was the first, like, knockout.
Right.
So that had to stick there. Then you get the first submission win, and you win the first belt. So in 5 months, the trifecta.
Yeah, it's like pretty
Like,
insane.
yeah, so it's gotta be amazing. So on that note, you've probably had an incredibly busy day. You probably have clients after this
Yeah,
'cause
no, I'm thankfully done after this. But yeah, it was definitely a little wild of a day. I actually had my pool boy hat on today.
oh, I don't know
In
why I
bet
said, "Oh," like, that was just so random. It's like my pool boy what?
'Cause I couldn't do anything before the fight, so I, like, in between clients today, I was, like, running out trying to close up my pool and stuff.
Oh, okay, so therapist, fighter, jitsu, pool boy, biller, business owner, girlfriend, dog mom, traveler. I think I got them all. There's probably a few I'm missing. We'll have to come up with a comprehensive list.
Right.
But now I just want to save the point for you to talk about the people who got you here. The boyfriend, the training partners, the family, because it seems like you're very connected with the family. Talking about mom getting a hold of the belt, that had to be a crazy experience for her to watch you win the belt, but for her to be able to hold it and go, look, like, this is why I've been getting punched in the face for the last 5 years. Like,
Yeah. I mean, I came home, my mom like decorated my apartment door, like,
I saw it. It was so cool.
yeah, and I think she did that, but when I had the knockout too for the first time, like I came home and like she had the whole thing like decorated. I was like, oh, like this is so cool. But yeah, I'm like super close with my family. Like my mom, my stepdad were super close. Even like my cousins, like my aunts, my uncles. I went out like to see my one of my cousins over the weekend, and they like had like a whole little hush little surprise thing where like I came in and they like all cupcakes and all these treats and they were like singing like "We Are the Champions" to me. It was great. my,
Because
my
who are
one
you?
my where
I said,
yeah
because
they
who
were
are you?
I'm
I'm
the
the champ.
champ. But like, and my boyfriend's super supportive. He also fights, so he gets like all
Mhm.
the ins and outs of it. He spent the last 2 fight weeks with me, and I think that was a huge factor in like me being able to stay calm, me being in a right headspace because we 100% like get each other. We
Yeah.
know like, hey, when you need to leave somebody alone leading up to a fight, when it's like, hey, you gotta let them know, like, hey, you're good, like, do what you gotta do. Um, my coaches are absolutely great. I have like such a great support system from them. And they spend like so much time just working with me one on one, like especially in my last two camps. It's been like hours upon hours. They like travel all over with me. Because I never fight locally. So anytime I have a fight, it's like, okay, like we gotta travel around. My one coach, like literally he was on a plane like pretty much all week. We had somebody fighting on Contender Series the night before me. So he had to fly out. He flew out to
Mhm.
Vegas, like corner him, slept for a couple hours, hopped on a plane to get to Oklahoma to corner me. It was just like kind of like
Crazy.
nonstop. A lot of coaches won't do that. They'll be like, nope, I already got this person. Like, sorry, like we'll have to send somebody else. I'm blessed where I don't have that. Like I have like, everybody wants to be there to support me. Um, I had like I had a nutritionist that came on board. He actually worked with, one of my a training partner. And he knew my last weight cut was absolutely horrifically horrendous. So when
Oh,
the title
no.
fight was announced, he like reached out to me. He was like, "Hey, just give me the word, and like I got you." And that was like one of the best decisions I ever made. I had the healthiest and best weight cut I've ever had in my life.
And
Um,
it showed.
yeah,
Like,
yeah. The one before when I fought Lindsay, whew, I cut like 14 pounds overnight, basically, and I'm
I'm
not a
sorry,
big
what?
person.
I'm
Yeah,
sorry. Yeah, I was gonna say
I'm
you're
not a
not
big
like a
person.
heavyweight who could just
Yeah.
cut that weight and be like, "Yeah."
Nope. So that was definitely like a rough one. So yeah, like, and this one, I did maybe like 6 pounds in water. And I felt like the strongest I've ever felt. Um, so it's
That's
like, I'm definitely, I have amazing teammates. I'm a girl, most of the people I train with are guys. And none of them are ever like, oh, nah, I don't want to work with Jill. She's a girl. It's like I'll come into the gym and be like, hey, you got to fight, right? You need rounds. I got you. Let me know what you need. I have a lot of girls. I travel around to train with different girls to get sparring in. So I'm like,
mhm.
super, super lucky. I have like a great support system in play, like in every aspect. My manager, he literally drives like hours upon hours to come to my fights, to support me, and deal with everything I need to. I'm like, I don't want to deal with this. Can you talk to this person for me?
That sounds about right. So as far as sponsors, like, are there any sponsors that have really, like, helped you, push through? And I know you had, like, the mindset coach and the nutritionist, but those are people you hire. Like, those are people who were definitely a part of the journey, but,
Right.
like, are there any sponsors that are helping you kinda, like, get through and, take care of, some extra things when it comes to that?
Yep, absolutely. I mean, I have like, so for me, sponsors is about good people, right? People that like have like a good mission statement, good morals, and like are kind of doing it for the right reason. Like yeah, we need money to get through camp, things like that. But like for me, it's like you don't like if we're not aligned in like our values, I'm not interested. So I have like a lot of people that have been with me for a long time. I have sick chick. She divines all my fight outfits, like pretty much all my no-gi gear. anything I need, like, she gets it for me. That's why I always have pretty sweet fight outfits because
Yeah.
she hooks it up. She dines. I'm like, hey, I want these colors. Do what you got to do. I have a meal prep company, Swole House, so that makes my life so much easier because I don't have to spend like my whole day off cooking, which
Yeah.
definitely sucks. So I'm super grateful for them. A bunch of different clothing sponsors that kind of make sure I'm like good to go. I just have like a really great team.
And I love that. I love that you were just like, I'm not going to take a sponsor because they're going to pay me. Like
Right.
we have to align it. It just goes back to everything we've been talking about since the beginning. Just the personality that you have and the person that you are. Really bringing something, I feel something refreshing. I think we're going to go with, it just reminds me, we were in Belize and the water was cold and the guy told us we're not allowed to call it cold. It's refreshing because it was like 50 degrees.
You're like,
It's not cold,
this is
it's
cold.
refreshing. But that's exactly what you're bringing to this. I'm not going to trash talk. I'm not going to do that. You're not the atypical fighter, but you're someone who should be on that list, that, pound for pound list. And
Right.
again, like you said, winning the belt was one thing, but seeing your name on there, it felt like more of a justification that other people were seeing you as the fighter you are.
Right.
Again, late bloomer, they can call you that all you want, but you're not fighting like a late bloomer. You're not fighting like somebody who, has been in the game for 10 years,
Right.
and fighting, as a professional for the last 5 going on 6. You're fighting like somebody who's been doing this for 20 years without having all the miles on it, like
Right.
all the damage and everything else that comes with that. And I feel like getting yourself right and getting yourself in your life where you need to be was the more important thing to do than start the fighting. And the fighting just kind of fell into place when it needed to and when it was supposed to, not because you wanted to.
100%. And that's kind of try like how I try and like live my life where like, I set the framework, like I like lay the tracks and then it's like, okay, we'll see what path like opens up and that's the path I'm going.
Yeah. So conductor Jill, let's be your next hat. Can we get you a conductor hat? Like
Yeah.
that's
That would
hat
be
number
pretty
10.
sick.
That's it.
Like,
I swear, if your next fight you just walk out with a conductor hat on with no explanation, they're gonna be like, "What? What's
like
that?"
don't
Oh,
worry
I'm
about
just
it.
gonna,
Don't worry
I'm
about
just gonna, yeah, I got this. Um, on my end, I'll just talk about the sponsors. So first of all, Combat Press for, I worked for Ultimate MMA. That was where I got my start, and they dissolved. They disappeared overnight, and I was crushed because I was like, this was my first gig, and they reached out looking for writers 8 years ago, and we're still here today. So huge shout out to Rob Tatum and Brian. I'm gonna say Henderson. I don't know why I forgot your name there for a second. Sorry, dude.
it.
But these guys like took a chance on me, and I'm forever thankful for that because our opinions aligned. Like you said, I agreed with how they wrote, how they handled things, and what they wrote about, and how they wanted to change the fight game. There's a million media outlets out there. There's more and more everyday journalists out there, but there's only a few that are, trying to do something different and succeeding. So super thankful for that. But usually I point to the buttons on my hat, but I'm missing one. So I'm just going to not do that this time. So
You got to know this because you got to change them.
yeah. Well, one of them fell off. So I'm a nerd, and this is a BattleBots pin because I did have people from BattleBots on my show because it is just robot MMA. Anybody who wants to argue with that, go ahead and message me. I'll explain why. But La Barba Cubana makes the most amazing beard care. As you can see, I love this and I love having this, except when I'm rolling and somebody goes for a guillotine. Not fun then because they get all of it. It's not fun. Fat Boy Jiu-Jitsu, making gear for guys that aren't small, making super cool stuff. There's some Marvel shirts. I have a knee on Mjolnir where it's Thanos and Thor. It's super cool. At Tim Makes Knives on Instagram, one of my friends that started bladesmithing, and he's doing a really amazing job making stuff. So just go check that out. And then there's Bertzo's Bake Shop making amazing goods. So if you're in a weight cut, don't come to Orlando because you won't be able to avoid this because it's amazing. And then actually, this is the brand new sponsor that I got 20 minutes before the show started. So it's Tales of a Concert Junkie. And it's somebody who, like, the shirts, just go look at them on Instagram. They're really cool shirts, and it's shirts like I'd rather be at a concert or, things like that. And they're just really quirky stuff. It's really awesome stuff. And it's, music is mental health is one of the shirts that is on there. And that to me really struck a chord because there's music I can listen to that, again, worst day in the world. You listen to that one song and, everything kind of aligns. So if you guys like that, go to talesofaconcertjunkie.myshopify.com. Use promo code Quiggin Out, and you get a discount. So go check them out. Go show them some love. But more importantly, and finally, the one, the only champion on the other end of the screen, Jillian Lionheart. You can tell by the end, I'm just like, I can't
Blah,
talk
blah,
anymore.
blah.
Jillian Lionheart DeCoursey, the newest Invicta Fighting Championships Atomweight champion. Thank you so much. It was an honor, a pleasure, and I hope you had a good time.
Yes, I did. Thank you so much for making it fun and not making it, the stereotypical, boring questions.
What's your favorite ice cream?
I'm not allowed to eat ice cream.
That's going to be the clip for it right there. I'm not allowed to eat ice cream. I haven't laughed as much in a long time. It's been 50 days since I released the last episode, so it's been a while.
Nice.
And I wanted it to be just right. And I know we've been trying to lock this down for more than just you being champion. Yes. So I appreciate that you saw that too. And again, congratulations. You're the champion. That pound for pound list, you're going to stay there and keep doing amazing things. So thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Hey guys, don't forget to hit the subscribe, little bell, keep you up to date on all things Quiggin Out. Thanks again.